And one way to think about this is that evolution is the way that the universe learns, right? So the universe itself is learning by developing behaviors that are adaptive, right, to new information, right? So the universe isn't some inert set of objects. I'll come back to this in a few minutes. The universe is itself a phenomenon that from which mind emerges, our minds and the minds of any other species, in my opinion. And that, as Desjardins said more than 50 years ago, this possibility is implicit in the universe from the very beginning. So we are embedded minds, right? We have our minds are embedded in our bodies, right? The whole Enlightenment notion of the mind being independent of the body is yet another mistake we've made. And so what we need to do is understand what life is and what makes it possible. So this is just one of my favorite pictures. This is Rousseau's The Dream, and what I use it for here is just to show the enormous complexity, fecundity, and beauty, right, of Earth's life. Now, one of the things that we need to take a hard look at is, whether we're the only thinkers. And so I relabeled Rodin's famous statue. It's just a thinker, and one of I can give some complicated examples about how beavers think and how it is they almost normally, almost always outwit us. But a much simpler example is the trees can think, right? Trees, if you plant a tree near your septic system, right, the tree will send its roots, right, over in the direction of the nutrients, and many of us have had experiences with this. But what this shows is that the tree is adapting its behavior to new information, right? So one of the things that we need to get out of our minds is the notion that what we think and everything else is somehow inert. In the interest of time, I'm going to skip some of these. The second point I want to make is just we need to listen to voices from traditional communities. We need to, there's much to be learned there that what Western scientific paradigm has downplayed or even annihilated. And many of the world's religions hold treasures and ways of thinking about our future that we don't take very good advantage of. The third thing we need to do is to connect our ethical systems to the scientific discoveries of the last several hundred years. And this has may not been done by Western culture. The primary, the most influential, famous, and noteworthy book in political philosophy in the 20th century by John Rawls could have been written 200 or 300 years ago in terms of its connection to evolutionary biology and the well-being of other species. And what we refer to in the book is Albert Schweitzer's famous doctrine of reverence for life as the basis of ethics, and also to Aldo Leopold's famous principle, a thing is right when it tends to preserve the integrity, stability, and beauty of the biotic community, wrong when it tends otherwise. And so lastly, it's in the process of reconstruction or starting over, we need to redefine ourselves. And so basically we need to move from this image of ourselves as in the image of God and as the divine as being transcendent and separate from the earth to the notion that the divine is here on the earth, right? And that we are members of this community of life, right? This evolutionary community. So my picture is not as beautiful as the previous one, but more true. Okay. And then the last part is where I go back and try to draw on Barry's notion of the possibility of grace. And so I'll just say a few things about this and then stop. I took this notion, walking even with the builder of the universe, as an expression from Walden by Henry David Thoreau. Right? And the notion is that if you get yourself in step with the universe, that is a moment of transcendence, if you like, a moment of transformation, a moment of enlightenment, and a moment of new perspective. And I think that's where we are, or at least where we could be, and that the revision of the economy that is the main focus of what we're here for is an element in that redefinition, but it's not the only element in it. So I just want to talk about some of the other things. So the first message I just want to make is a simple one, that that the universe was not created in the sense that we often think, but the universe is creative, right? The universe is a vast unfolding process of which we're a very, very tiny part. And we can participate in that creative process, or we can undercut that creative process. And as Stuart has mentioned, what we're doing now is we're undercutting that creative process. We're disassembling the Earth's life support systems faster than the systems of the universe, faster than the Earth systems can build it back up. And this is a very famous picture from the Hubble Space Telescope called the Pillars of Creation. And on the left-hand column there, that's 6 light years high. And it's basically a star factory, right, that's being bombarded by ultraviolet light, and which allows for the sort of erosion of that pillar. And what will come into being out of that pillar are new suns, some of which will blow up, some of which will collapse, and some of which will become, like our sun, right, the source of possible other solar systems. We don't know if that's happened in any way that supports life or not yet. But at least here, it does support life, right? And we're part of this process. And this, to me at least, is a source of great awe, right? Great respect, right? And an enormous sense of, at once, fragility, being sort of infinitely small, but also a great sense of responsibility for being the custodian of this process on the Earth. Perhaps unique in the universe, we simply don't know that. Second, we have to recognize that we're small, and the place where we live is very small. This is another famous photograph from the Voyager mission. This is the Earth from 4 billion miles, and this is, so you can see, it's just a tiny dot between the two little lines. The lines are there just so you can tell where it is. And this is what Carl Sagan had to say about it a few years after the picture was taken. That the Earth is a very small stage, and it's ultimately our responsibility and the object of our compassion to care for this, to care for it responsibly.